Welcome to Mindanao Rising! Quality Education on Focus. The show that takes you on a journey beyond the ordinary. I am your host, Maria Almira Princess Amy Harris
and Vivian Garcia,
and together we'll uncover the stories that shape our world, from the hidden gems in our communities to the groundbreaking ideas that spark change.
Each episode will chat with different students from different areas across Mindanao, bringing you insights that will challenge your perspective and ignite your curiosity. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore the uncharted together.
Good afternoon, Sir Raven. How are you lately?
Well, I'm fine. What about you?
Well, I'm kind of fine. Just a little bit stressed sa akad because hindi siya slayable.
Grabe.
Anyways, matanong nga kita, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng quality education in your own opinion?
Well, having a quality education is one of the most important aspects of our youth because, as they say, kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan.
Right.
So in order to shape and sharpen these youths, we have to provide quality education where skills and emotional and intellectual knowledge are fully exercised. Without this, we will not be able to develop good leaders to lead the future of our country. And it is a big hindrance in improving our economy too.
Right. And quality education is under the UNSDG's fourth goal. This goal does not just aim to provide a quality education, but also provide an accessible, adequate, inclusive, and equitable education. This is according to UNICEF on their study last 2023. But does this apply to our country?
I think yes.
Well, I beg to disagree. Narinig mo na ba yung issue ng UP just weeks ago? Yung Burgess issue. Ang konteksto nito ay sa UP daw, ang mga pumapasa lang ay yung mga mayayaman, na kung saan nawawalan ng pribilehiyo ang mga gustong pumasok dito. And they say most students in UP are the most privileged ones. And their argument is that why would these students, which are labeled as Burgess, attend in UP, where in fact they can just go to other prestigious schools like Ateneo, DLSU, and LPU, and so much more. Diba? Parang irony siya sa mga students, sa mga other students na hindi afford pumunta sa mga private schools dahil ang ending, wala na silang mapuntahan and dahil punuan ang mga slots sa government-supported university.
Yes, I've heard of that issue that has been going on social media right now. I've heard that some people are saying that those privileged people are deserving naman daw. One argument that is also valid is marami ang pumapasa sa cut-off or quota, sadyang mas marami lang yung mas may gina-prioritize na mataas yung scores, which will be prioritized. Like I said, they are prioritized. Those who got higher scores are usually the privileged ones or the privileged enough. I agree that UP does not just accept anyone, but because of the rich continuously abusing the broken system, mas lalong nawawala ng chance ang mahihirap.
Yes, and the government have a bad reputation lately. It's all over the news. What's more surprising is how our education system of the University of the Philippines have been influenced. That says a lot about our government. They have not taken proper action in this issue towards improving the quality education, as I said sa UP na issue. And which is na-affect siya sa mga students and which is very alarming.
Tama ka, Mara. We will just continue this topic.
Just stay tuned on Mara and Raven's podcast, Mindanao Rising, Quality Education on Focus. Alam mo, ang hirap din maging estudyante, lalo't na kulang ka sa kakayahan mag-aral sa mga other private schools at saka punuan pa talaga sa mga government na mga paaralan. And hindi ka pa makakakuha ng scholarships, kulalat ka talaga. At sa aking tingin ay dahil talaga ito sa kakulangan ng atensyon ng gobyerno, kagaya na nangyari sa UP, right?
Alam mo, agree ako. Sa sarili kong opinion, hindi naman talaga tayo maghihirap sa kamit ng kalidad na edukasyon kung binibigyan talaga nito ng pansin ng ating gobyerno. Pinapahusay at tinututukan ng mabuti. Dahil sa huli, babalik din sa atin ito kagaya ng nangyari sa isang lugar sa Mindanao which is in Tawi-Tawi. And I think hindi lang yung UP na issue ang problema na nararanasan natin ngayon. Alam mo ba na ayon sa ulat ni Atom Araulo, meron din meron ding bahagi ng ating bansa na mababa ang education rate.
Talaga?
Doon siya sa Tawi-Tawi. It is a part of the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao and it is the southernmost part of our country which is the rural area na talaga. Main problem of the area is that development has been really stagnant ever since, thus they lack access to primary education, which makes it hard to make an improvement in this area too. 'Di ba? Imagine if a school does not exist in that area, ano kaya ang mangyayari?
Well, I can't really imagine. Pero I think pag ganun ang mangyari, wala talaga itong maayos na patakaran, walang mga improvement even sa economy, pati na ang magkaroon ng mahusay na leader. Kasi nga, wala silang education, so what are we expecting in that place?
See, that is what will happen to our country if quality education does not exist. O 'di ba parang math lang does not exist. Anyways, we have gathered here with us today to share a very quick experience of how a struggle it is to live in rural areas.
Ayan! Let us now call on Stephanie and China to be with us here in our first segment. Ayan, welcome sa ating daily segment, Stephanie and China.
Kamusta naman kayo at patapos na ang first sem?
Well, it's such an nice, okay naman din siya, pero most of the time, stressful naman. Pero okay naman din.
Okay lang naman.
Grabe, apakahinhin.
Can't relate. Anyways, ayun, since na patapos naman na ang SEM, I hope na nakaka-cope up pa rin kayo. And thank God for being here with us today. And we know na nakaka-experience kayo ng mga difficulties, a lot of difficulties since that na mga freshmen kayo. And we just want you to, gusto lang namin malaman kung ano-ano yung mga experiences nyo ng mga difficulties.
Well, since ako, I'm from a place where we struggle a lot with internet connection, especially nung pandemic, and everything was online. Tapos, nahirapan talaga ako mag-catch up and cope up sa online classes, submissions, and tasks. Kaya, for me, yan talagang isa sa dapat pagtuunan ng pansin ng ating gobyerno. Another is that, sa lugar namin, we do struggle too sa pagkakaroon ng proper learning resources at lack of facilities. Dahil very crowded ang aming mga classroom, wala din kaming mga library. Sapat na mga computer para sa pananaliksik at marami pang iba na wala sa rural na lugar sa ating bansa.
Right, especially now that everything is modernized, our handouts, lectures, and lesson guides are found online. So it will be very troublesome on your part, if that issue worsens. Stephanie, what about your experience as a student who resides in an urbanized city?
Well, so far, I've lived in a city since then, and I don't really encounter such issues when it comes to education. I think traffic lang talaga ang kalaban namin every single day.
Ayan, thank you. Traffic Jude, sister. Like, very sofer. Anyways, thank you so much for being with us today and thank you for sharing
Thank
your time
you.
and insights and experiences. Alam mo, I do agree with the both of their testimonies. Personally, I also came from a public school for 2 years ng elementary. And it is really evident, especially sa province namin, that we do struggle with the resources and facilities. And imagine, 50 or so kami sa iisang room. Ngayon nga, parang 34 lang tayo or 30. And nung 50, it's so very, dikit-dikit and mainit. And then, very crowded talaga siya. And nakaka-apekto talaga siya sa pag-aaral.
Oh well, in my opinion and situation, I cannot really testify about this since I came from a highly urbanized area, and this issue is not that relevant though. However, based on your testimonies, our government's neglect of the educational system is evident and it's underfunding, which results in overcrowded classrooms and lack of essential resources. Kaya tayo naghihirap dahil ang ating bansa at bayan, ay pinagmamahalaan ng mga responsableng politiko.
That's right. In fact, me and Raven's team interviewed a student from Ateneo asking what her opinion is about the government neglect of improving quality education in our country, specifically in rural areas of Mindanao. And now let's call on Zara.
Hi, good morning, Zara. Welcome to our podcast studio. What is your opinion about the government neglect of improving our quality education in our country, especially in rural areas of Mindanao? In what way do you think this will affect us in the long run? Lastly, what are the possible effects you can foresee if this dilemma will not be resolved until then?
Um, the government's neglect of education in rural areas of Mindanao is a serious issue. Education is the foundation that empowers individuals to dream, innovate, and create brighter future. So, when education is lacking or neglected, several problems will arise, especially will affect us in the long run. So, the lack of quality education will trap our communities in the cycle of poverty. Whereas, mahihirapan ang mga students na maghanap ng maayos na trabaho. Marami ang magiging unemployed at mahirapan na sila na mag-earn a decent life because they lack the education of essential competencies or skills, which will lead to poverty and will keep our community from improving. Therefore, because of this poverty, people tend to commit crimes just to survive. And most probably is that the individual's limited access to quality education can reduce awareness of the consequences of crime and lead to poor decision making. So, marami talagang factors. So, it is really complex. That is why these societal struggles can push individuals to commit a crime. So, pag poorly educated ang communities natin, often struggle sila to improve living condition and engage in local activities. So maraming youths ang will leave for cities or other countries in search of better job and educational opportunities, resulting in a loss of potential future leaders. So, limited knowledge about resources, trend, nutrition, and health increases risk in diminishes quality of life. So, ang masasabi ko lang is the lack of education affects not only individuals but also future generations. So, uneducated parents often struggle to teach their children. So, perpetuating a cycle of disadvantage. So, this can lead to increased social and economic inequality, widening the gap between urban and rural areas. So, ultimately, the consequences of inadequate education impact our entire communities, and the country as a whole.
Ayan, unti-unti na tayong nagmumulat sa gaps ng ating sistema ng edukasyon. Salamat, Sarah, for being here with us sa aming podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Ngayon, bago tayo dumako sa ating next segment, meron na naman kaming nakapanayam na isa pa ring mag-aaral sa Ateneo na magbabahagi ng kanyang opinyon sa kung ano-ano ang mabuting epekto ng pagbubuti sa kalidad ng ating edukasyon sa bansa. Sophie, your turn. Welcome, Sophia, sa aming podcast.
Hello.
Sa tingin mo, anong mga good effects pag inayos ng gobyerno ng quality education?
Improving education in our country brings numerous positive effects. It boosts economic development by creating more job opportunities and raising incomes, as educated individuals contribute to innovation and technology, which are essential for modernization. Education also helps reduce poverty by offering people better employment prospects, allowing them to rise above economic hardships. Additionally, it promotes better health, as educated individuals tend to make informed decisions about nutrition and healthcare, leading to healthier lives. A well educated population strengthens democracy as citizens become more informed about their rights and responsibilities, leading them to greater civic participation. Moreover, education drives advancements in science and technology, equipping individuals to address national challenges such as environmental issues, healthcare, and agriculture. Lastly, it fosters national identity and culture preservation by passing down traditions and history, enhancing a sense of unity and pride in the nation. Improving education is key to building a more prosperous and developed society.
Okay, thank you for
Thank
that,
you for
Sophia.
having
Thank you
me.
for having.
What an experience it is to speak with these people sharing their insights.
You're right, Princess. I've gained so much insights and information about this topic. And I'm glad that we're able to speak about this to our audience. And it really made me to come to a conclusion to how it is very relevant to vote for the right politicians, a leader that will bring the country on top, being an advocate for us youths to where quality education is also a priority.
That's right. Kaya to our dear streamers, vote for the right politician this coming nag-promote. Jokes aside, I did learn a lot of things too sa mga speakers na mga guests natin. Kaya naman, ano pang hinihintay natin? Let's now proceed to our next segment of our podcast, ang segment na Mapapastop, Look, and Think talaga tayo. What are we waiting for? Arat na! Ayan, welcome to our segment, Shane.
Welcome.
Ayan, so in this segment is merong mga questions na prepare si Shane for us, me and Raven, and then kukuha kami, and then we will answer. So, ayan, let's begin. You go
Ako
first.
first, wait. Sandali lang. Okay.
So for Raven, ang first question is, what is the role of education in fostering political, moral, and ethical development? And how is this role compromised when education is of poor quality?
Para sa akin, education is key to shaping our political, moral, and ethical views. It teaches us to think critically and make informed decisions. When education is poor, we lose the ability to question, understand, and engage with the world, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation and ignorance. Which also means this can lead us to bad decisions without even realizing it.
Thank you for your insights.
Okay, next. Go again.
Next question is for Mara. How does a lack of quality education contribute to the never-ending dilemma of social inequality and injustices?
Well, quality education has been defined during the first segment pa. Pero ano nga ba ang contribution nito sa isyung inequality and injustices? Well, education fosters, shapes, and sharpens an individual's intellectual and emotional and overall well-being. So, kapag hindi ito na patatag, nagdudulot ito ng paikot-ikot na problema na social inequality and injustices or cycle kumbaga. Kagaya ng nabanggit sa mga naunang segment, ang issue na burgis sa UP at mga kabataan sa Tawi-Tawi ay nawawalan sila ng freedom makapag-aral to have a conducive and quality education. Philosophically talking, nagkakaroon sila ng determinism freedom, right? Na they are not free to do that because of some circumstances where they cannot escape in that reality. Kasi nga, come to think of it, gustuhin man nilang mag-aral pero hindi pwede kasi punuan nga, 'di ba? And wala ng slot. And when it comes to the tawi-tawi context, gustuhin man ng mga kabataan mag-aral, hindi pa din pwede kasi wala silang mga enough resources. Walang guro para magturo and some other circumstances pa like financially. So, very contradicting siya sa circumstantial freedom. Hindi nila magawang makapag-aral ng mabuti and straight na pag-aaral dahil merong interference. However, nagkakaroon ng inequality and injustices because of our government itself lacks quality education. How are we supposed to expect from a leader na hindi nakapag-aral, na hindi nakapagtapos, or a leader na wala man ng background sa politics to lead our country well? And hindi talaga tayo mag-expect na makakapagtatag siya ng mga polisiya kapag ganyan. Am I right? Thus, this explains how lack of quality education impacts on the cycle of inequality and injustices. On the other hand, if we look into the issue, parang normal lang siya na issue kasi nga hindi siya masyadong natututukan. But if we look into if we dig deeper and see things in a different perspective, malaki talaga ang impact ng edukasyon sa buhay ng tao, sa ekonomiya, and sa overall. Kasi if we are well educated mentally, physically, and intellectually, hindi magiging cycle ang inequality and injustices kasi edukado tayong tao. We are well equipped with knowledge, experiences, we know how to solve things, what is right and wrong, when to stop and when not to, know how to fight and know how to treat everyone equally. So, every one of us has our own moral dignity and human freedom, which allows us to have a right to quality education, equal treatment, and a fair justice system, to have a structured freedom.
Thank you for your answers. This information will truly be an inspiration to aspiring leaders.
Okay, ayan. Next question. Go next.
Okay.
Next question is for Mara. If you were an activist, what advocacies would you carry out to address or prevent the issue?
Thank you for your question. And if I were to be an activist, I would recommend the implementation of the satellite dishes. Since our first guest, she has talked about how it is a struggle on her part, especially in her hometown, that lacks a stable internet connection, in which this makes her struggle to catch up on online classes. Thus, I think, and I think my team agree and you too, that the use of satellite dishes would be of good use to further enhance our students' learning. We noticed how students lack stable internet connection, and we all know na napakahina talaga ng Wi-Fi sa Philippines. And we figured out that if the government won't be able to provide for their needs, then why not we provide it ourselves through our advocacies and through this satellite dish implementation, right? This satellite dish would contribute to better signal connectivity alongside promoting the use of sustainable, renewable energy, which then helps to improve the quality of education of students. Oh, perfect, diba?
Tama.
Okay, so for the last question, sa'yo na talaga yan, sis.
Of course.
For the last question for Raven, if you were a government leader, how would you handle such a situation?
If I were in charge of the country, my first priority will be to improve quality education. I would start by teaching educators to how to help students think critically and identify lies, ensuring global access to high quality education and including moral and civic responsibilities discussions into the curriculum are two of my priorities. And since quality education, I since like quality education is like not like so good in the Philippines.
Yes.
And you know those students who stop going to school and they go to cities to work because like the money or the financial in their areas are not good enough.
Yes.
So my plan for that is I will distribute the
budget.
the budget properly, and so that the people from the rural areas don't I won't need to come to rural areas,
Urban areas.
urban areas, yeah, to the city.
Ayan.
Yeah. Lastly, I favor local campaigns that foster genuine interaction. By taking such steps, people will be more able to avoid a lie and make educated choices for themselves.
Tama, those are great solutions to handle being in such a situation.
Ayan, thank you so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us. And thank you sa mga questions.
Nakakalito.
Okay,
Sige,
ayan. So
thank
let's
you.
now go to our next segment. Thank you so much for sparing us your time.
Bye.
Ready. Good morning, sir. I only have two questions for you. First question is, what can you recommend to those students who are deprived with quality education, specifically children from rural areas such as Tawi-Tawi? And question number two, as a government employee, what is or are your recommendations to the government's solution in addressing this issue?
Hi, good day to young learners. I am Lieutenant Colonel Almirante Mijares of the Special Forces Regiment, Airborne Philippine Army. And I have that experience assigning into different areas in the Philippines, and I've been observing all the educational system and the educations in remote areas versus the urban areas. And the first questions I would like to answer is that on how my recommendations to students of lack of quality educations, because nowadays current the educations in remote areas are pretty much low when it comes to their quality of educations compared to urban areas, and these situations cannot easily be solved by our government, which is a democratic system of government. So therefore, these situations will long last. We don't know when will it be have equality education in the remote area. Now, the only solutions for the students, if you want to avail quality education, first is you must avail the is you must avail sponsorship. There are a lot of rich people that will sponsor young learners who are intellectually capable of studying in the urban areas, and there are non-government organizations or the NGOs also sponsoring intellectual students, and there are a lot of national government agencies and local agencies that will support the students. You student should seek these programs from individuals, non-government organizations, and the government organizations for them to avail the quality educations in a city, chartered cities, or a progressive towns in different areas in our countries. So that's the very solutions for a student who want to avail a quality education. So for my recommendations to our government, first thing first is to look for a secretary of education that will a secretary of our educations, particularly the secondary educations up to the tertiary educations, who is capable of developing this education level, because there are a lot of secretary educations cannot deal with this, and I hope that our government will see to it that Secretary of Education must be a capable one on how to develop education system in our government. And another thing is our government, from that selection of the best Secretary of Education, one thing is the equity of fund allocation, that rural areas must receive a bigger allocations than urban areas, because urban areas are now having a good libraries, having an electronic system of facilities compared to the urban areas, so rural areas rather. So it must be the bigger allocations of education must be goes to the rural areas for those students having having good intellectual capacities, and it was already started now. I hope that this will be continued. Our national science high school are now in the remote places, like for example in South Cotabato there is now a national science high school, which is a quality high school in Surala or Norala, municipality of Norala or Sula. I don't know the exact location, but this is another example of the progress of the government looking up into the how to address this educational system in our country. So to sum up, I would like to recommend first questions. I would like to recommend to the students who want to avail a quality education. If you are in the province, living in the province or in a remote areas, please do your strategy on how to be there in the city to study the quality your education with quality educations through sponsorship, scholarship, and of course, be a working student if you want to graduate your to avail a quality education in the city. Because, as I've said, the government cannot easily develop educational system in the rural area because of the economic constraints. And of course, to our government, please do continue study and select the best Secretary of Education that na merong puso sa pag-aaral o sa edukasyon ng ating kababayan, and continuous be courageous and having that continuous study on how to allocate bigger fundings to the rural areas. And young learners, that's for me as your elder brother, as your mentor, as you study, as you are going to progress in your study. This is my personal experience I am telling you, so I hope that this will give you insights, and this will further your understanding on the situation in our educational system in our country. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insights.
Wow, grabe naman. Apaka-insightful ng mga answers mo kanina, Mara. I would like to relate quality education to Christian morality. God calls us to help and support one another. In this case, we must learn to develop care for our youth through providing them freedom to quality education. We are built in God's image, thus it is part of our nature to love. It is our duty to carry out love within our actions through taking responsibility and prioritizing and addressing their needs.
Ayan. And when it comes to the Christian morality context, it emphasizes the inherent dignity of every human person, which can be extended to ensuring that everyone has access to quality education, a fundamental human right. Responsible consumption and production practices in education involve recognizing the need for equitable access to learning resources, such as providing reliable Wi-Fi or signals for public schools and to every students para equality. And these resources are crucial in today's digital age, where education increasingly depends on internet connectivity for information access, communication, and learning opportunities.
Natural law also recognizes the inherent dignity of every person, including the right to education, therefore ensuring that public school students have reliable internet access, respects their dignity, and meets their educational needs. Supporting businesses that work to expand digital infrastructure and advocating for policies that provide free or affordable internet for students in underserved areas reflects a commitment to this principle.
Ayan. Therefore, moral decision making and Christian morality is based on values and conscience. as Christian morality teaches responsibility, providing quality education to students becomes part of our duty to ensure that our decisions positively impact others, especially the marginalized or the students from rural areas. And with that being said, sharing tayo ngayon, sister.
Yeah,
Ayan.
sure.
So, with that being said, what do you think is the relevance of Christian morality in this issue, and how will you apply ethical values and moral towards this issue?
Christian morality focuses on loving God and loving others. This aims to promote good attitude within a person towards others alongside basing it off through the teaching of Jesus Christ. Regarding the issue where ethical and moral acts and values are lacking through Christian morality, we will be able to acknowledge our nature as a man made by the image of God. It teaches us to love thy neighbor and tells us what is it to have Christian morality. Through doing good deeds such as serving justice, taking responsibilities, and loving others the way God loves us. In your own understanding with our discussion today, and in any relation to our theology subject, what are the strategies that you think that are suitable within this dilemma that are also aligned with the natural law?
Natural law in theology is, yung parang na-understand mo talaga na meron, as a human person, since that we are created in the image of God and we are a loving person and meron talaga tayong inherent dignity within ourselves. So I think that we can relate this to this dilemma is that I think these government officials should have, they should reflect on themselves na if tama ba or align ba sa Christian perspective ang mga actions na ginagawa nila kasi um, if they should start to think for the greater good, for the common good of the people they are serving, and they should not just think of their own selves for their own, parang para masatisfy lang ang kanilang needs. And I think the better strategy talaga nito is, the government officials should align their goals and plans to the common good that will align to the moral law of us, since that we have dignity and we should have a quality education, and we should have a freedom to do that, and hindi na kailangan ng mga students na magbeg na uy, government official, you should do this and that, please, sige na, it's not very practical to think of that na kailangan pang magbeg kasi meron tayong dignity and we have moral freedom to do have a quality education. And another is that access to essential resources such as tools and technology promotes the common good and enhances productivity, and thus building community support systems such as cooperatives, encouraging everyone to mutual aid and solidarity, which are vital in a just society. And finally, advocating for policies that protect our human rights and natural law, engaging in faith-based organizations and outreach programs and support can further bridge the gap between the ethical principles and practical assistance, which is aligned to our moral law. Together, these strategies uphold the core values of natural law while addressing the real challenges faced by our dear learners. And my question is, how important is having conscience, dedication, and compassion towards addressing this dilemma, specifically in rural areas of Muslim Mindanao?
Loving others wholeheartedly is one of the ways we can address this dilemma, especially in rural areas of Muslim Mindanao. When we love wholeheartedly, it is done with complete sincerity and commitment. When we bring conscience into loving wholeheartedly, we are able to love through the teachings of Christian morality. Through this, we are able to distinguish God's voice inside of us and act upon it based on our nature as a man. To love, this controls our actions and guide us to Righteousness, therefore, bringing positive effects when it comes to addressing such issues as it promote
Promotes.
ethical values and moral principles rather than the humanization, injustice, and ignorance. My last questions before we finally conclude our discussion with all the strategies, recommendations, solutions, and so that we have discussed today. How will you maintain embodiment of God since it is said that we are made in the image of God?
Yeah, thank you for your answer and for your question. My answer is that to maintain the embodiment of God, as we are made in His image, we must approach our actions with deep sense of stewardship, compassion, and justice, particularly in our interactions with this issue of lacking of quality education. So, while we are facing this problem, we should always remember to talk to God with this na parang kausapin natin siya, what should we do? I-align talaga natin ang ating moral principles while addressing these issues. And this involves recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every individuals, treating every learners not just as parang natural learners na walang pakialam lang na bahala yan sila hindi makapag-aral, but as a valued students and learners of our shared humanity and our shared our shared place, and as our shared freedom and rights. By promoting sustainable practices, we reflect God's creation, care, ensuring that we honor these students and their freedom. Engaging in equitable practices allows us to uphold justice and compassion, aligning our actions with moral imperatives of love and respect for one another. Additionally, fostering community support systems embodies the relational nature of God as we build networks for the care and mutual aid that mirrors His desire for unity among us. Through our education, quality education, and advocacy, we empower others, reflecting God's call to service and leadership and love. Ultimately, embodying God means actively living out these principles, demonstrating His love and justice in every aspect of our support for farmers and the broader community. So, to embody to remain God to in addressing this issue, we should just always remember that every one of us is made in His image and that we are relational being, and we are also made in His image, and so that we have dignity. So wag natin kalimutan to our government officials na we should also address this problem kasi nga we have dignity and we have freedom to access to quality education.
Okay.
And yon. So
Okay.
what's your sharing for the last part?
For me, Christian morality teaches values like honesty, kindness, and respect, which are key to quality education. Like they said, people who are good educated are usually those who are, basta yun. And it helps create a positive learning environment where students grow not just academically, but also as good, responsible individuals. These individuals guide students and teachers to act with integrity, shaping a better future for everyone.
Ayan, so, final say ko, quality education and Christian morality teaching revolves around the balance providing equitable high-quality education while adhering to specific moral and theological principles. So, Christian teachings emphasizes the dignity and worth of every individual while advocating for access to quality education for all. This problem is parang kailangan i-balance ang equity while having a quality education. And then Christians may struggle with how to incorporate faith-based perspective without compromising academic integrity or alienating students from diverse backgrounds. So, in this problem, kailangan lang talaga natin, to balance our education and also to our Christian while incorporating based perspective na hindi na talaga natin makalimutan as a Christian and our faith. And education must foster compassion, integrity, and justice, and which will challenges us to integrate moral and ethical teachings and align with theological perspectives. And in many regions, Christian organizations provide educational services in underprivileged areas, raising questions about the impact of religious teachings on broader social issues like poverty and inequality. So, yun lang talaga yung kulang natin, i-address properly ang quality education while integrating Christian morality, and while addressing this dilemma, kailangan lang talaga natin na ma-align siya to the Christian perspective, na hindi natin kalimutan that we are made in the image of God, and since that we are made in the image of God, we have inherent dignity, and we are relational being. So while addressing, do not forget our dignity and that we are made to love, and wag natin kalimutan yon. So ayan, thank you so much for being here with me, Raven, for joining me today, for sharing your insights and times with me. And that wraps another episode of Mara and Raven's podcast. Remember, every voice matters.
If you like what you heard, subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little motivation.
Until next time, keep shining bright and pursuing your passions.
Bye,
Bye, guys!